And we kick off this evening with a look at the cinema.
I'm not a complicated man. I like cinema.
It's beautiful, beautiful cinema.
Cinema history come to life.
I found my solace in the small cinema I went to every Thursday night.
I'm a professor of cinema.
I go to the cinema for the stories.
There was no competition between the cinema and seminar.
I mean, it's not within the realm of conventional cinema.
And now,
here's Pace and Johnson
with a cinema review.
It is Monday, 8 EST, April 7th, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Cinemaster's Reviews. Sorry about that. If you just saw, I just went live on a different channel, or live on a different video. Bunch of stuff always happen on the video store. Sometimes accidents happen. My apologies. But we're going to ignore that because we got an exciting show tonight. I'm reviewing one movie, but boy, what a movie it was. I'm going to be reviewing a Minecraft movie, the adaptation of the video game that I just released this week. Did huge numbers at the box office. I say we jump right in. A Minecraft movie. This is directed by Jared Hess, probably most well known of Napoleon Dynamite and Nacho Libre fame. This is about a guy by the name of Steve who ends up walking into a portal in a mine shaft and ends up getting transported to this world called the Overworld. There he meets this race of evil pigs while he's just trying to live his life, building houses and living with different villagers. And he ends up getting enslaved by this evil pig by the name of Maldosha, voiced by Rachel House. Years later, we learn that these two kids by the name of Natalie and Henry, played by Emma Myers and Sebastian Henson, have just moved into Idaho, into the small town of Idaho after their mother just died, and they're trying to make their own life. Natalie has an advertising job at this potato chip company, and Henry is just going to school. We also learn of a character by the name of Garrett the garbage man, who trains people in retro video games. Very obsessed with retro video games. He has his own store, and his store is closing down. Well, Garrett, Natalie, and Henry end up getting sucked into the mine shaft and end up in the overworld. They end up meeting Steve, and they have to find a way to get out. And hopefully, Garrett can get money to save his game store. This is going to be a difficult movie to watch. Just for some context, I don't see these movies in like press screenings or anything. I end up going to see them with everyone. So I usually see it with a general movie crowd. This is not me saying that like, oh, critics are elites for going to screenings. My God, it's their job. They should be allowed to go to screenings. I'm just saying I tend to see like how an audience reacts to the movie. And I will say, watching this movie in a packed crowd kind of took me for a little bit of an existential crisis. This is what I will say. If you were a fan of the games, even if you're a kid, like a kid from the age of like, I'm going to say, let's say 10 and under, or you're a fan of the games, you'll probably like this movie fine. You will probably have a good time with this movie. It seems like it was made for you. There are going to be a lot of references that you'll be able to pick up on. And with that, it does get my recommendation. If you enjoy the game, you'll probably like this movie. As someone who is a casual Minecraft fan and walks into every single movie, not as a fan of a different IP, but as someone that just wants to see a good movie, this is going to sound harsh, but this movie feels like brain rot. This movie feels like genuine, absolute brain rot. I found most of it to be gutter trash, honestly, and I was baffled by the laughs and by the applauses I was seeing in my theater seeing this movie opening night. Now, hearing those reactions, I kept on thinking, am I wrong? Am I being too harsh on my just angry reaction to this movie? Am I being kind of like a Grinch? Like, can I not have fun? Should I be viewing this movie that is very clearly intended for kids? Should I be viewing it through a different eye? And should I be giving it the benefit of the doubt? And this is going to sound harsh, but 5% of me said, sure, I should come onto the show and admit that the audience seemed to be having a good time, and I was definitely the person that was having just not a great time. I will admit, I was sitting next to next to a mom who brought her 3 kids, and throughout the entire movie, me and her were looking at each other whenever an applause happened, and we definitely had moments of like, is this really happening? Like, are people really laughing at this? So I was happy I wasn't alone, but we were the vast minority, judging by the crowd reaction. But yeah, the other 95% of me says, no, I do think we should expect better from movies that are intended for kids or for families. We are living in a post-Pixar world. We've lived in a post-Pixar world since 1995 with Toy Story. That should show us what we should be expecting from our kids' movies. And heck, even from like a video game adaptation. The Sonic the Hedgehog movies, to me, blow this movie out of the water because they actually have real characters. They have real jokes. They have real stakes. This movie has none of that. All the characters in the film just feel like stock characters, as you would expect from Minecraft. If you've ever played the game of Minecraft, essentially what happens is it drops you into this world, and you are just supposed to go off and survive and build your own house, collect materials. You just go and just punch a tree that allows you to gain wood. You can take that wood, you can make like different tools, and that will allow you to get rocks, to get diamonds, to get gold. Allows you to do a bunch of things, but there's not really a story to Minecraft. So props to Jared Hess. He was working from a blank slate, but all the characters just feature the actors either playing themselves or they're just not memorable characters. Jack Black plays the character of Steve. I guess you kind of get the like backstory of like, oh, this character has just been in this world and been away from human beings for the longest time. So he's kind of like our guide through the world. Jack Black is doing the Jack Black thing, so he's entertaining at points. Not super funny. Jason Momoa is very clearly playing himself as Garrett the Garbage Man. He's this super tough macho guy. What he lacks in brains, he makes up for in brawn. Nothing that special there. Emma Myers and Sebastian Henson, they do a fine job. I usually tend to not like really hammer down on kid performance unless they are giving like really bad performances. They're fine in this movie. They don't elevate the material by any means. These characters are characters that you've seen in tons of other movies. I should say Danielle Brooks plays another human that gets sucked in this movie. Just a normal storyline there. Nothing that special. Yeah, when it comes to the characters, there's nothing really that memorable. The jokes of this film, I will say the first half of the film, when we are actually on Earth, I can't believe I'm actually going to say this. I like that more than when we actually get to the part of this movie that we know from the video game, where we actually get to the world of Minecraft, which is almost always the opposite. Like usually my least favorite parts of these like video game to movie or cartoon to movie adaptations is where we have to go into the real world. And this one, it's the opposite, where like when we're in the real world, the humor is actually kind of funny. Jared Hess made Napoleon Dynamite, which is a movie that I love. There are actually a few hidden references to that movie, and I did kind of smirk at those. Not enough to like save the movie by any means, but I did enjoy those references a little bit. But yeah, when we actually get into the world of Minecraft, all the jokes just consist of just references to the world. And if it sounds like I'm being harsh, these were the moments that got the most amount of laughs in my theater. When we first see Jack Black's character, when he first meets when he first meets the other humans, all the characters say, "Who are you?" Because he just saved them from a bunch of these monsters. And Jack Black's character looks right at the camera and says, "I am Steve." And everyone in my theater applauded. They started laughing, and I was just dumbfounded. Like, this is what is making us laugh. Okay, I guess. There's a point where he looks at the characters and says, "You have to make this with a crafting table." That got a huge laugh. Late in the movie, there's a scene where Garrett and Steve are in like this fighting ring, and this chicken is dropped into the ring, and a baby zombie gets on top of the chicken, and Steve just looks right at the camera and says, "Chicken jockey." And everyone just started dying. It was like I was watching Eddie Murphy do Raw back in the 80s, or like Robin Williams perform at the Hollywood Bowl. I was like, what I am watching to these people, to my entire audience, I don't want to say these people because I don't want to sound like I'm condescending. Clearly to my audience, they were having the best time of their life. And I was just like, is this really what we are constituting as jokes? Is this what we are constituting as humor? So I was so confused about this, and I was having a moment where I was just like, am I just clearly not the target audience for this? And obviously I'm not. But I came on here to review it. I try to go into every single movie with an open mind. And if that's the humor this movie is giving me, then I gotta say this movie is not funny unless that's your type of humor where they just say stuff. And if you get what they're going for, you're gonna laugh. Looking at my notes. There to explain how this movie gets worse as it goes along. There's an entire scene where we keep on hearing about this woodland manor that the characters are going to. And we keep hearing like, okay, so we got to go to this woodland manor in order to get this pearl. The movie ends up becoming like this fetch quest style movie of like, okay, so we got to get this item that allows us to get this item that allows us to get this item, which like, yes, that is how a video game is played, but for a movie that's just kind of annoying to watch. So we end up going to this woodland mansion. And it seems like several scenes of this movie were just taken out because stuff just starts happening for no reason. Characters are just in a location without any explanation as to how they got to that location. Again, it seems like I'm thinking about this too hard, but I'm just coming at this from a normal movie watching perspective. And if I can notice it, then I feel like any other adult will be able to notice. And if you're taking your kids to see this, you're going to be annoyed watching this movie. Which, yeah, the movie's humor never really shuts up. It never has like a quiet moment where the characters really like are able to take time to let the humor sit in. So yeah, it is definitely a movie that is just throwing just colors and noises at you at all times, and it just leaves you feeling bored. The actual design of the overworld, it's a very unique design. They end up capturing the feel and the look of the video game very well. But at the same time, I just don't think that look really translates to a movie that well, and it just doesn't end up looking that great. Which, yes, the game of Minecraft was able to really sell itself on, hey, this game doesn't look technically that impressive, but it very clearly but it very clearly has a very unique design. So maybe that's what they were going for. I don't know. As its own movie, it just wasn't really that great. All three human characters, they all have an arc, and they all end up going certain places. Their arcs we've all seen before. This movie brings nothing new to the table, but like, I guess they do have a beginning, middle, and end. If I can say one funny joke I did kind of enjoy, the portal that the human characters end up taking to get into the world of Minecraft, a zombie ends up walking out of it, and he ends up like romancing Jennifer Coolidge's character. Jennifer Coolidge plays the principal of the high school that Henry goes to, and there's some funny jokes there. There's a very clear Napoleon Dynamite reference there, and I did enjoy that. So maybe I'm just showing what the problem is. Like, I'm just like, oh, I got that Napoleon Dynamite reference. I find that funny. And then everyone in theater was getting all these Minecraft references that I just didn't find that funny. There's a post-credit scene. It's very clear that it's a reference to the video games. I didn't find out all that special. I just found it a fun character name drop. Who cares there? I don't know. This movie sucks, but I was surrounded by people that were cheering, that were applauding. It's always fun to see a movie in a big crowd. I don't know. I was just sort of having a moment where I was just like, am I the problem? Am I being too harsh? And I think the answer is yes and no, and there are layers. But I have to come on here, and I have to give my honest thoughts on this movie. If I were to review this movie on a scale of 0 to 10 videotapes, 0 being absolutely awful and 10 being absolutely exceptional, I'm going to give it 2 ratings. If you're a fan of the games, if you're a fan of just family films in general, honestly, based on the reactions, I'd go as high as like an 8.5 or a 9. It seemed like everyone else in the theater was having a great time. But if you go to a movie wanting to see a good movie, I'm going low. I'm giving it a terrible 3.5 out of 10. I just did not find myself having fun here. It's not like unwatchable, but when the jokes aren't funny, the characters aren't interesting, the actual conflict in the movie, like I can just kind of picture set pieces that just goes kind of nowhere. I just end up feeling very bored. And if you have kids, you're probably going to take them to go see it, and they'll probably have a good time. But yeah, this is not going to be a movie that you're going to find any other enjoyment with. But yeah, that does bring us to the end of this video. Remember to like this video and subscribe to the video store. It does help grow our channel a lot. Next week, Amateur, the new action film starring Rami Malek, as well as Warfare, the new war film directed by Alex Garland, comes out. Shout out to Alex Garland. I know he said he was stepping away from movies after stepping away from directing after Civil War last year, but it's fun to see him say like, hey, I want to direct a new movie, and he's co-directing this film, so I'm very excited about that. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Again, sorry for that technical mishap earlier. I'll see you next week, and remember, as always, watch more movies.
And the award for most vapid film review of the century goes to...
Okay, movie review. Okay, I thought it was beauty.
And he's now in cinema hell, where one day we'll all be reunited.
This is me at the Regal Cinema crying as I did through much of the film.